Yo, what is going on everybody? My name is GamingDJ and in today's video I'm actually not playing GTA, but I'm gonna show you the cheapest and best gaming PC under $1,000. So basically, I'm just gonna talk about all the hardware you need to build your own potential gaming PC. But I gotta say that this video does not include any prices for screens, mouses or keyboards or speakers and headphones. So that's just the PC itself. So first of all, a big advice I'm gonna give to you: don't buy anything you don't need. So for example, if you don't do hardcore editing or hardcore gaming on 4K or something, you will never need a GTX Titan X or something, or a water-cooled PC. So with that being said, we're just gonna start off with the graphics card. So choosing a graphics card is probably the hardest thing at building a PC, because there are so many of them. I'm just gonna compare some graphics cards between Nvidia Graphics Cards and Amd Graphics Cards, because they both make very good products. So the first thing you have to check if you buy an Nvidia card is that it is a GTX series, because those are like the gaming editions of graphics cards. And the second thing you're gonna watch is the VRAM. Because if a gaming graphics card got only like 500 megabytes of VRAM, I do not recommend to buy it, because every game, or pretty much every game, needs more VRAM. So I would recommend you a graphics card with a minimum VRAM of 2 gigabytes. And my favorite graphics card now is the one I actually bought, and it's the Nvidia Gtx 960. This graphics card is available anywhere between $200 and $300, it depends where you live. And it really does its job, I must say, because you can play pretty much every game on very high to ultra settings. So if you wanna see my review video on that graphics card, you just click on the graphics card right there and you will get linked to my video. Another great graphics card is the GTX 970, which is also very good, but it's a little bit more expensive, because this card will cost you around $300 to $400 depending on where you live. But it's actually got 4 gigabytes of VRAM, so that's a big point. So coming at the AMD graphics cards, I decided to show you the Asus Radeon R9 280. This graphics card is pretty much at the GTX 970 level, but it costs only $200 to $300 depending on where you live. And this card actually got 3 gigabytes of VRAM, so it got more than GTX 960, but a little bit less than the GTX 970. So that are definitely the 3 best priced graphics card out there in my opinion. So the next step on our journey to a perfect gaming PC under $1,000 is the motherboard. And I decided to show you the Gigabyte Mod 1150 GBT Z97 D3H. There are a lot of letters and numbers, but it's a very good and good priced motherboard, because this is a 1150 chipset motherboard and it already got the new chipset of the Z97. This motherboard is available on anywhere from $150 to $200. There are cheaper ones out there, but most of them are only AMD chipset based. So I went with the Intel version, so it's a little bit more expensive. But don't worry, we will still keep the price under $1,000. So this motherboard is perfect for Intel processors. The only bad thing about this motherboard is actually that you can't put in 2 Nvidia graphics cards. You only can put in 1 graphics card from Nvidia or 2 graphics cards from AMD. So the next thing on the list, we have an SSD. So for those of you who don't know what an SSD is, it's a solid state drive. It's basically like a hard drive, but it's thinner, it's more silent, and it's like extremely fast. It's got like 570 megabytes a second. That's very fast. And this SSD is available for a price of $90 to $130. It always depends where you live and when you purchase it, because you know the prices keep changing every day. So this SSD is called the Samsung MZ75E250B SSD Evo 850 version. This SSD got 250 gigabytes. There are 500 gigabyte versions out there, but they actually cost more than double the price of 250 gigabytes. And the reason why you probably would need a SSD is not to put games on it or anything, but to put on like Windows and some programs like, I don't know, Sony Vegas for editing or After Effects, or any programs that you need to be fast. So don't put games on SSDs if you don't really have to, because you will need the space for other programs that need the speed of the SSD. And next on the list we have RAM. RAM is also a very important thing for gaming, but also for editing, because most programs only need 4 GB RAM, but some editing programs actually need more, like 5 or 6 GB of RAM, and that's very much. So I went with the HyperX Fury Blue Series memory RAM from 8 GB and 1600 MHz. It's a DDR3 RAM, and I'm very pleased with it, because you pay like $50 to $60 for 8 GB, and that's just very cheap. So you get 2 RAM bars. And I would also recommend you to buy anything between 8 and 60 GB of RAM for your computer, because it depends on what you're doing. When you're only playing games, you will probably not need more than 8 GB. But if you're working on a Sony Vegas on complex projects, or even on After Effects or Cinema 4D or Unreal Engine or something like that, you'll probably need 16 GB. I don't know if you really need 32 GB, because that's just, it's really much. It does speed up the computer a bit, but you don't need it and you pay like double the price. I don't know if that's worth it, that's your decision then. But anyways, that was the RAM section. So then we come over here to the second hard drive, which will just be a HDD. And I decided to get a Western Digital VD10 EZEX, which is a 1 TB hard drive, and I tell you, it's enough. 1 TB is enough, 2 TB is okay, and everything beyond, it's like, it's too much, you will probably not need it. And this HDD is available for price from $50 to $70. And this actually was the hard drive I put all my games on. And I recommend you doing the same, except Battlefield, because Battlefield is like a game that loads like hours and hours and you get shit. So if you play Battlefield 3, I would recommend you definitely to put it on the SSD. I recommend you putting all the games on the HDD and also all the project files from, I don't know what you're using, After Effects and Sony Vegas, on the HDD. Especially if you're working with After Effects, put the cache on the HDD, because the cache in After Effects is actually very big. It gets up to 40 GB if you let it be. And now we come to the most important piece when it comes to editing, gaming, to everything to do on your computer. It's the processor. And if you want to get a good processor for cheap price, this is probably a good option for you. This is the Intel i5-4460 quad-core. This is already a quad-core CPU with 3.2 GHz and 6 MB cache. But before you say, okay, I'll buy this one and that one, the first thing you're gonna need to know if you're new to building a PC is that you always have to watch if the socket is the right. So if your chipset from the CPU is a different one from your motherboard, nothing will work. So you always have to look up if the socket is the same as on your motherboard/CPU. Just look it up and you will see which processors fit to which motherboard. If you really want to edit well and fast on a PC, I would recommend you to buy an Intel i7, because that's the newest one and they are just amazing, but they cost a lot more than the i5s. So an i7 costs anywhere between $350 and $500. If you buy the super extreme version, you will pay like $1,200. But as we want to keep our price from the PC under $1,000, let's just take that out of our mind. So in my opinion, this Intel i5-4460 is a very good option for a good and cheap processor. And then last but not least, the case. So the case also was one of my hardest decisions ever. Because you have to think, when you buy a case, that's the only thing you will ever see on your PC. You should not think like, oh my god, I want a beautiful motherboard because I want one. You will not see it, or at least you will not see it that much. Think about what case you buy. Of course, you also have to watch if all of your components will fit in there. For example, if you buy a big motherboard and 3 graphics cards, a mini case will not do its job. So I would recommend to buy a MIDI tower or mid tower. They are like the normal sized cases. I did not purchase this one especially because I wanted one more beautiful, so I went with the NZXT 410 Phantom Gunmetal, which is a pretty expensive case, but that's only like an extra. And I'm gonna show you this case. This is also very good. It has been purchased of one of my friends and he really likes it. This case is available for a price of anywhere from $60 to $80. and it's this Sharkoon T9 Value Green PC case. This actually already got LEDs on it and fans on it, and it's just amazing. It has everything you need already, and I think for a price of $60 it's okay. So just to check for you, right now we are on a price of $770, and I always took the average price, just that you know. And what you need now is probably a cooling fan for your CPU. On your CPU there is always already a CPU cooler on it, but the stock fan is not always the best solution. They are loud, they do not cool very well, so I would also recommend you buying a good CPU cooler. So I went for a Noctua cooler. This cooler is called the NH-L9i CPU cooler, and this is actually a very cheap one. It's about $40 to $60. It sounds a bit much, but it actually cools very well. And if you wanna pay a little bit more money because, I don't know, you want a better CPU cooler, I would recommend you buying Noctua NH-U40S, which costs anything from $70 to $100 depending on where you live again. If you don't want to buy a Noctua, other good CPU coolers are Be Quiet, Alpenföhn and Arctic. Arctic is actually the cheapest one, but they're also not that good, I gotta say. But that's your decision then. And the last thing you would absolutely need, of course, is the power supply. So I would recommend to buy you a Be Quiet power supply with at least 500 watts, because that's like the limit what you need for your setup probably. And for this actually I don't have a special power supply for you because there are so many of them, but they actually cost anything between $60 and $100, so it's not like the world. And as the name says, the Be Quiet power supply is very quiet. You can't really hear it, and that's a very good thing because you need a quiet PC when you're recording, especially if you use a microphone. For example, my old PC was very loud and I always had to edit the noise out of my voice, and that was just like a pain. So I would totally recommend you to buy a quiet power supply. And another extra, that's not something you would really need. It depends on what games you wanna play. It's a DVD drive. As there is Steam and Origin and Uplay, you don't absolutely need a DVD drive. But if you wanna play older games or other games you bought in a store, there are very cheap DVD drives for like anything from $15 to $60 depending on what you buy. But that's just a little extra. And now we are finally done with our PC, and I actually put in the price of the DVD drive as well, and we reached a price of $918. So that's amazing, but I gotta say the shipping is not included yet, so that's also depending where you live. So that was my video, the best gaming/editing PC under $1,000. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you out at choosing your PC or at building your PC. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more videos. And leave some comments in the comment section down below to get me some feedback as well. And that is all from myself now. Peace out.